Well, welcome back to the When I Heard This podcast. My name is Nate Robinson. I'm here with Pastor Joseph Tillman, MDiv, soon to be Demon. Hi.
Hi, my friend.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been?
I'm well. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why? Did you not think so?
No, just, looking a little tired over there.
Yeah, well.
Well,
whatever.
Pull it together.
Yeah.
We got an episode to do.
Fruity Multiply.
Fruit and multiply.
Number 2.
Yeah, here we go.
Be Fruitful 2.
Yes.
Multiply.
Yes. Yes.
Of the Caribbean.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, yeah, we're doing more fruit and multiplying, and we're getting into all the stuff that we shouldn't be this tired talking about, but we're going to do it anyway. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Go to Patreon, $5, like, subscribe, share, comment, follow, download. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This Podcast, and X and Locals at When I Heard This. Website, t-shirts. Tell people this show.
It's going to be awesome.
Notification bell. It's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you think people don't want to listen when they know that we're not really that into it?
I'm excited about the episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm ready.
I am too.
Uh-huh.
Just yesterday I was excited.
Okay.
And then
today happened.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Because we have to do it early today.
Yeah.
At 3:30.
So early.
Anyway, yeah, more fruit. Okay, first question. Okay, so at the end of the last episode, we talked about people who can't have children, and there are things that can help them potentially do that.
Mm-hmm.
That
right.
exist.
Sure.
Because of technological advances.
Sure.
So, one of those things is not a technological advancement,
right?
But it is adoption.
Uh-huh.
We'll get to the other things later.
Okay.
But is adoption a form of fruitful multiplying?
Yeah, and I think kind of where we were ending last week's episode kind of hits this as well, right? Because obviously, no, you're not having your own natural children, but you are raising a child, and you are raising one who has an image of God, and you're, hope, and so hopefully, it's whether, and I'll say it, I guess, from two parts. From a Christian's perspective, you're raising that child, and you're hoping they're going to continue to be a light and an image bearer of God to the world, that they, would testify of the Lord and those kind of things. But even for non-Christians, and they're adopting and they're raising their children, like, that doesn't need to be minimalized, and it doesn't need to be put into a situation where they think, well, this is not as legitimate as if we had had our own kids, So yeah, I think again, principally Genesis 1:26 through 28, connecting the image of God with being fruitful, multiply, so the image of God would fill the earth. So yeah, so I think it is a form of being fruitful and multiplying, even
though it's a person that already existed.
Correct. Okay. That's what I was saying. Obviously, you're not giving natural birth to them, but you are raising them.
Okay.
And so yeah, and you're the one that's going to be investing and pouring into that child, and so I think you should feel comfortable making that connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I adopt,
tick
the fruitful multiply box.
Yes.
On the Jesus scorecard.
There's no Jesus scorecard.
Okay.
But you can check that box if you'd like.
Okay. People who marry into already existing children.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fruity multiplying?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing as we talked about with adoption.
All right.
Yeah. So obviously you're not naturally, part of that process that's allowing for that child to be conceived and then come to this earth. However, at the same time, you are raising that child. And so I think, again, you are raising one who can be an image bearer of God on the earth. And so, yeah, same thing for adoption. You make the connection there principally. Yeah.
People who cannot have children will sometimes make other people have their children for them.
Okay.
This is called surrogacy.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right?
The word make is...
Pay. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
Pay other people to have their children.
Yes.
What does Jesus think of this? And is this a form of multiplying and fruitful multiplying that is acceptable unto with the Lord?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, this is one of those things where it can really go one or two ways. So in other words, this is a situation where, so like, let's say you can't have children. However, whether you're paying someone you know or you don't know, or it's a close, a family friend or whatever it may be, is willing to serve as that surrogate, or even a family member, then I think that can be a gift to that family, to the couple that wants to have a child.
So you think Jesus is okay with that?
Mm-hmm. I do. I think
even though it's space age technology.
Yeah, Jesus isn't against technology.
Okay.
I want to be. Jesus is not against all technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's okay. The issue for me becomes where it can become a really unethical situation. So, for example, in India, there are places where young women are serving as surrogates to Americans or Europeans or whatever, and they're just basically just being paid to turn out children. Okay, just being a surrogate, right? And sometimes that's not always a decision that young lady is making. Like, they're kind of trapped into that surrogacy situation because of whether it's they're being forced into it, or there's a lot of situations that can occur because of it. But for me, it can become very unethical if the woman is not being cared for who is serving as a surrogate. That's what I'm getting to.
Okay.
It's like if that woman is not being cared for, or she's only seen almost like as like a breeder, and that's how she's therefore treated, I think that can become very unethical.
So Jesus is cool with this whole process.
Jesus is cool with the process of, so if a couple cannot have a child of their own, but they can have someone serve as a surrogate for them, I think that's perfectly fine. And
all the ins and outs and ups and downs of it are cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As long as there's nothing immoral or unethical happening to cause her to be a surrogate, or in the process. There.
Okay.
That's where I get concerned about, is
the
unethicalness of things that can occur, whether during it or, again, in some of these third world countries where women are exploited into being surrogates.
So people disagree with you, though.
Sure.
So why?
Because some people believe that there shouldn't be anything that should be done technologically to allow people to have children. Or they don't even want to get, because some people will go all the way to an extreme. You never should get medicine involved.
Right.
Right. I mean, so there's different levels of extremes on this. Like, some people go like, if the Lord intended you to have children, you would have children. No medicine would be needed.
Okay.
Well, if that was the case, we wouldn't even have our first couple of kids. So,
all right.
And so I think that's a big issue. Like, so we wouldn't even have our couple of kids, but beyond just our own personal experience of it, I don't think there's anything unethical about the fact that science and technology have come to the place where medically they can help individuals, whether it's, conceive, whether it's just allow them to have children. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. And obviously we'll get to the IVF stuff here in a second, but I think that there's probably a spectrum of people that, again, they're like, no, you should never do anything. Then others are like, well, you can use medicine, but don't go any more further invasive than that.
Okay.
And others be like, well, okay, a surrogate's okay, but, and then IVF's okay. And I think there's, so it kind of, and then where it just goes to where anything's okay. And I think there's this massive stretch there of differing opinions and ideas in the Christian. I'm talking about specifically in the Christian world. I mean, obviously that's also the case in the ethical discussions of this, not just within the confines of Christianity, but in the confines of Christianity, people will say, well, biblically, you should just do it. If God intended it for you to have children, you'd have children. That's that.
So what about the lady carrying? Is that not a problem?
What problem do you believe might be there?
Well, because I've heard that sometimes they'll get attached to the baby after carrying it.
Yeah.
And is that not an issue?
No, and I think that's part of the ethical issue I had with like the women who are exploited in third world countries.
Okay.
Because that is true. An attachment can form. And I think that if you are doing it for a family member, for a friend, I think it's easier because ultimately you're doing it for someone else's good,
Okay.
even though you're carrying that child. But for women who are exploited into carrying children, then they're having the child, but they're having to go through all of the emotional and physical parts that a mother would go through.
Yeah.
And that's, when you're carrying a child for 9 months, you form an attachment, and that's a big deal. So when that child is born, there's an emotional grieving and loss that happens for that surrogate.
So what about getting a surrogate that you don't know and you're paying? Like someone who is doing it for money.
Yeah.
Is that ethical according to Jesus?
I think it can be ethical.
Okay.
And then it can be unethical. And
all right.
What I mean by that is the pay, like, is this an individual that is choosing to do this for pay, and it's, they're willing to go through it. Maybe it's not the thing they're going to always do, that kind of thing, but they're not being exploited into doing it.
Okay.
It's that exploitation of women to serve as surrogates that's what really concerns me.
Okay.
Because I think if you're doing it, like say you're just an individual doing it for pay, you go through it, you're going to experience the emotional and the physical, the mental parts of that, the spiritual parts of all that. And so then I think you can make a determination, is this something I want to really do again or not?
But you think that there's surrogate women out there that really want to do this to have children for good people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even if they don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And then obviously you have the flip side of that, right?
Yeah.
Where they're just doing it strictly for the cash.
Okay. Do you know people who have done this?
For the cash part?
No. Do you know anyone that's been a surrogate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they're cool?
They did it for a family member.
Okay.
Yep. So, and they thought they were able to, they did it one time for a family member, and they thought that by doing so, it was able to, bless this family member.
IVF. Go.
Oh, wow.
Do it.
Man, IVF brings up all kind of emotions and feelings and questions and ethical dilemmas. This is a big topic. So, all right, I'll try to break it down in a few different ways. One, I have seen where IVF can be, all right, I guess I'll back it all the way back up.
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe
in the beginning?
In the beginning, do I believe that the fertilization of an egg that's happening outside of the body is okay? Yes.
Okay, because that has to happen.
That has to happen first
during surrogacy, also, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They have to get both things from two people and then put it together and then put it inside something.
Right. So
this is just
yes,
stopping in the middle of that process.
Right. So this is for IVF, you're doing that, and I'm okay with that. All right.
Okay.
In ethically at large, but what I'm also going to say though is that every single one of those embryos they are like That's a human being.
Okay.
And that's where we start going down the ethical parts of this.
Okay.
Right. So there are some couples that go through IVF, obviously, because they cannot have children outside of it.
Okay.
It is the only way for them to have kids.
So explain the process.
So you've got two individuals, and usually something is going on in the woman's body.
Okay.
Okay. It's not always the case, but usually something's going on with the woman's body. So therefore IVF is, decided upon, and you do that. And sometimes the woman's body has to, go through surgeries. There's obviously the woman has to be injected with, there's like a hormone treatment they have to go through. To try to fix this? It's pretty rigorous. No, just for the IVF purpose.
Oh.
Yeah, so that woman's body will be able to hold the embryo.
Okay.
And be okay. So there's the hormone treatments, and then there's the, sometimes surgeries have to happen to keep the body from attacking, the embryo. So there's a lot of variables. Not everyone's situation is the same, right?
Right.
So you've got a lot of medical variables. So you could be listening to this going, well, we went through IVF and it wasn't because of these things. And I get that. So there's a lot of medical variance in it.
Okay.
But as far as the ethicalness part, the ethical part of, is it okay to fertilize the egg, have those embryos? Because what'll happen is they're pulling embryos from the woman's body or eggs, right? Okay. And so you may end up with, let's say,
so they're taking eggs, and then they're meeting them with sperm
in a petri dish.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they're freezing them.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
For what?
So to be placed back into the woman, the mother.
But if the body is attacking them, then
they would have surgery to deal with that.
Okay.
Then have it put back into the woman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If the body's not doing that, right? Let's just say there's other medical reasons that an individual. So
there's just medical reasons to need to do this.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And so there's other medical reasons, and again, but every woman has to go through a lot of hormonal treatments and that kind of thing. And it takes a toll on the woman's body. I'll put it that way.
So basically, surrogacy is putting it in someone else's body, and IVF is putting it back in your body.
So yes, yeah. So for surrogacy, yes, it is IVF, but happening in another woman's. The fertilized eggs being placed in another woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the issue here?
Yeah. So the issue is the embryos. So let's say you've got 3. Well, usually you're gonna have more than that. You're gonna harvest maybe 6, 8, 9 eggs.
Embryos.
Mm-hmm.
Embryos.
Yeah.
Not eggs. Not just eggs. We're talking about embryos.
Right. Okay. But the eggs are harvested, right, from the woman.
Okay.
Fertilized.
It's a weird term.
I know.
Yeah.
It is. They're fertilized, right? Okay. Comes an embryo. Yeah. At that point, and then at that point, yeah. So like what you said, the embryo will be placed, it'd be frozen, right, until the proper time, and they judge that on the woman's body and the timing of when to place the fertilized, or when they place the embryos in the body.
Okay.
And the woman and the couple, or if it's just a single woman, the woman will make the decision of how many embryos to actually have placed within her.
Oh, so she might have,
because let's say she has 1 placed in her or 2.
Okay.
Because and then several will do 2 because they like they don't want to go through the process and then one of the embryos not survive. They don't want to go through that process and not have a kid out of it, basically.
Okay.
But there's always a risk. Embryos that are created through IVF are much more likely to split to where you would have twins out of there.
Why?
So just, I guess the nature of,
because they were frozen,
and the nature of how they were made, that kind of thing. So and I'm sure someone with a science background give a much better explanation of the why there, but so if you have 2 placed in you could end up with 4 kids, right? Or if you have 1, it could split. You end up with twins.
What's the most anyone's ever done?
Well, remember,
what if you took all 9 of those things and shoved them up there?
Remember, there was the woman that had the octuplets. There was 8. She had 8 kids.
Oh yeah, at the same time.
At the same time,
man.
Yeah.
All right, someone's got to beat it.
Right? No, well, they've actually put limits on it now.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
No, no, it's not. It's not healthy for a woman to carry that many children at one
45
time.
of them up there. Let's see what happens.
No, we're not going to. No.
Come on.
No.
Test the limits.
No.
Jump higher. Run faster.
This is not that, friend. This is not that. And so, yes, they do have the limits on there now. So the issue is, let's say you have 8 embryos. Okay.
Okay.
And you go through frozen.
Okay.
And you go through 2 different in vitros, and you decide to put 2 in each one, right?
Okay. So you got 4 left.
You got 4 left.
Yep.
The question, this is the ethical part.
Okay.
Is what do we do with these other 4? Because if they're if we deem them as human life,
which we do,
okay, then what do we do with those 4, right? And so if the answer to that question is we give them over to science, that's not good.
Okay.
And the better option would be that we give them to someone else who may need them.
For what?
So that they can have children.
Oh.
Now, again, it'd be kind of strange because they would literally be having your kids.
Right.
Yeah. And so...
Or you just throw them away.
Right. But the throwing away part can... I mean, I would not be okay with that. Like, I would not be comfortable with that ethically.
Okay.
Yeah, see, this is where... it's really... IVF really does cause a lot of ethical questions and, for some people, dilemmas.
I've never thought about this because... as we'll get to later. But if husband and wife or whoever was like, if this stuff happens all the time and we consider this just a consequence of trying to have a child, is like, and it's something that occurs naturally, but we're just doing it unnaturally. Is that an ethical way to look at it?
Yeah. Yeah, in the sense of, yes, we're trying to have children, and so therefore is the idea of, harvesting eggs, having semen, connected with those eggs to fertilize them and create embryos in a petri dish. Is that all for the sake of trying to have children? Is that ethically okay? That in itself is, I am ethically okay with it.
Okay, what?
It's the fallout from the rest. What happens with the rest.
But what you're saying though is that there would be, if 2 people were trying to do this naturally, there'd be natural fallout, right?
What do you mean? 2 people trying to do this naturally?
Okay, so if 2 people are going to do IVF, then they've tried to do this, and either their body was attacking it,
right,
or embryos were getting created and getting stuck, or whatever.
Right. Sure.
So that would be natural embryos dying from trying to have children.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So IVF, if we just throw the things away, after the embryos away, that's essentially unnatural consequences of this couple trying to have children.
Yeah, but the throwing away part to me would be the unethical consequence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what if you just left them frozen and did nothing with them?
And there are those who have chosen to do that.
And just kept them frozen forever?
Yeah. And I don't know, and this is where, and it's, I don't know how long they're viable.
Okay, so what if we just let them freeze out and die naturally? Is that better?
To me, that would be better than just simply discarding them.
Okay.
Or even worse to me would be giving them over to science. Because science will actually take the embryos and allow them to develop further.
Right.
To then, do various
that's a whole
research on
separate
it. Yeah.
ethical question.
So I won't get into all that. Yeah.
Because that could help us know things for future people to be better at being alive later.
Right. And you get into the same whole discussions as you would with the stem cell research. And so,
but they figured that one out and now it's fine.
But for me, the IVF one with, when you're allowing them to grow, embryo to grow, and then you're doing medical research, that's I've got all kind of issues with that.
Okay. Well, that's messed up.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm not understanding, if there's natural consequences to this couple having a children that results in dead embryos.
Right.
What's the difference between that and unnatural consequences of trying to have children that result in dead embryos?
I see what you're. I see what you're saying.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's the intentional things we're doing.
Okay.
Right, we're making intentional decisions of what we're doing with these embryos.
So why do they have to freeze so many at a time?
Because when they harvest the eggs, not all of the eggs are viable.
Oh.
Yeah. They're not viable initially, or they become non-viable, after they've been fertilized.
Right.
And so that's why they harvest as many as they do, to give the couple a chance to have at least a few. And the doctors will even say, hey, we're going to place what we think are the two most viable embryos in you. So they're able to kind of, quote unquote, judge the viability of these embryos.
Okay.
Because some of them don't make it at all. And some of them are So
to you, the only problem is when we have some left over.
Yes.
In this whole process.
This whole process. How do we go? Yes. That is my major issue. I guess the other one would be that the idea of kind of going through IVF the issue for me mainly is, what do we do with those that are left over?
Launch them into space.
Don't think that's a good idea.
So what's your solution then?
Well, again, I think the best case scenario is that individuals who can't even, because of the couple's own medical issues, can't even have viable embryos themselves. Okay? Because whether eggs aren't produced or semen's not viable from a person, right, from the husband, that they could be able to then use the embryos. And this is what does happen. They're able to use embryos of other couples.
Okay.
And I think that's a viable. So I think that's a viable use of those embryos.
Okay.
And so that's, to me, best case scenario.
Christians don't like talking about this stuff.
They don't, I don't think.
No.
And
you said embryos 800 times.
I did. I don't know how else you want me to refer to them as, though. It's because for me, this goes back. Remember when we did I keep saying adoption. I did it during the episodes too.
Yeah.
When we did the abortion episodes.
Yeah.
And it's all about determining when life begins.
Right.
And we came, I'm at the conclusion that life begins at conception.
Right.
With the embryo. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, that still has to hold for me, whether that's in the body or whether that's outside the body. And so I have to have the same. I have to be consistent in my ethic,
right,
in both situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes Christians are not. They're not consistent
mm-hmm.
in their ethic, and I think that they need to be, but again, that's a whole. Again, I know this is more a further ethical discussion, but I feel they need to be consistent, and so I'm just trying to be consistent with my ethic.
What if they like half-ass try to do something with it?
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean?
Like, what if they just?
I don't even know what you're going to say.
What if they just try to like throw it up there and see what happens? You know what I mean? The extra embryos.
No, like that is not how any of this works.
Yeah, well, like with a slingshot.
No.
Wider.
Oh God.
No. Is that good enough?
No.
Okay.
No, at all. Zero.
All right, fine.
It's not how any of this works. Okay. No, you can just slingshot it up there.
Yeah. So we tried and it died. Oops, accident.
No.
Father, forgive me. You know what I mean? We tried.
No.
All right. Next question.
The answer to that question is no. or reaction or response or whatever it is. No.
Okay, so I have another question that's not in here.
Okay.
And this may make it 3 episodes.
Oh, dear God.
All right. So in the future, if we can completely produce human beings without a body around them.
Okay.
Like in a test tube.
Right. Kind of like cloning idea almost.
We can test tube some babies.
Uh-huh.
Not cloning.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
You can just put it in there and the whatever machine acts as a womb. Is that okay?
Give me an example of how you think this would work.
Basically, if you don't work, then we don't have to because like we're talking about with IVF, some of them don't stick.
Sure.
Or whatever, or there's something wrong with the body that doesn't work.
Right.
So this is another option. It's like surrogacy, but with a machine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So same process of surrogacy, but with a machine.
I don't want to be like the guy that cops out and it's like, well, let's just see if it actually happens when it gets there. So I won't do that. I really have a hard time believing we'll get there, but I think I get it 100 years ago, they wouldn't have believed we could be able to do IVF.
Right.
So I guess the question then is, are we able, like the child being born outside of human contact and outside of, being in a mother's womb, what is going to be the impact on that child? Because I believe what's happening in the life of that child in the womb is much more than just the physical development of that child.
Okay.
That there's emotional and mental and even spiritual things that are happening in that child in the womb. And so because of being there with their mother, and so I question what would happen in the development of these babies. Would they physically be able to, develop in 9 months and be a viable child outside of this, technological womb? Okay. But what happens, I guess I have deep concerns of what would happen with the emotional and mental parts of the image of God in that child, separated from being developed in the context that God had designed in the mother's womb. Because I think there's, it talks about the forming of the child in the mother's womb. And, even I just think there's things going on there that are way beyond just the physical development. And so that would become the issue for me.
I mean, we won't know till we try. And someone's definitely going to try if it's possible.
Yeah. I guess I hope it's never possible. How about that?
So back to some normal questions, I guess. Other than you not knowing what the future holds.
Right. Yes, I'm not all knowing. I'm okay with that.
Okay, so us here in basically all of the West have collectively decided that being fruitful and multiplying sucks and we should never do it. Right?
There is a growing movement of that. Yes, absolutely.
So what do you think of all that and what's going on?
it absolutely breaks my heart. And if I'm being honest, like, I hate it.
Okay.
Because it's almost like it's like children are being seen as nuisances, as annoyances, as burdens that stop one from furthering career, or becoming such, it's so difficult that I have to have a child and I can't go do everything that I want. I guess that thought process is developing. It's coinciding with a narcissistic development in our society, where it's all about us, what I want, and we're losing I think we're losing a moral compass of that. Not everything's about me, and again, this is not speaking to any of the people that can't have children, right?
Right.
This is speaking to people that are just like, I don't want to have kids. And it's not because of, I feel like I'm called to it, or it's just like, they're going to impact my life, my living. And or maybe even the worst is I don't want my body to go through that. I know that's hard hearing a man say that, right? For
people say that though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My wife has been in discussions, debates, arguments with other women about this, about the fact of, and my wife would say, yeah, your body's going to change. Having a child is going to change and impact your body. Be okay with that. And I think, but again, I think it goes back to our kind of vain narcissistic worldview we've got going on, a perspective we have going on in our society. Now, do I think everyone is narcissistic who says this? No, I just think that there's a lot that are. And I don't think that children, it's like we're going away from, the idea of being fruitful, multiplying wasn't like this like duty of, well, go have kids and sorry it's going to be tough, but suck it up, Like there's joy that's connected with that, right? Like when it talks about in the scriptures about, blessed is the one whose, quiver is full, and like the blessing is not just that, oh, look at me, I've got a lot of kids. The blessing is I have kids, right? And that these kids are actually a joy for my life. They actually bring life to me. And so, and I think that we have gotten so far away from that, and whether it's professional or personal agendas override actually what is better for us. It's almost like we think we know better, right? Like,
okay,
I know better. I know that if I pursue my business career, that's better. If I better than having kids.
In what terms?
I think in terms of financially, I'll be better.
Okay.
I'll be more happy because I'll have a more successful career. I'll continue to, grow the corporate ladder, right?
Yeah.
Or on the personal level, well, if I don't have kids, I can travel. I can do what I'd like to do. Again, I'll have more finances at my disposal. And so I think that those are when it becomes about those things, that's what concerns me.
Okay.
Because, and I'm not saying there's not people that don't feel either called to be single or like, I mean, I'm willing to open up the discussion for the nuance, but I really don't like it when it's especially put in the context of just the kids being burdens, annoyances, hindrances for me and myself and I,
Okay.
Yeah, that becomes the issue for me.
Okay, so there are people who I've heard from at church and from around who say, I am not going to, sometimes it's just get married, and then sometimes it's also get married and have children. And say, I'm not doing that because God has told me not to.
Okay.
Or whatever.
Okay.
So is that legit?
Yeah.
Like, is that an acceptable excuse to not do mandate number one, which is go have sex and make babies?
I don't think that's necessarily just mandate number one, but yeah, I do think that it's legit in the sense of, 1 Corinthians 7 talks about Paul, that he's single, and he even implores people to see where he says, hey, I wish that y'all were as me. Like if you have to get married, go get married. But it'd even be better if you were like me and single. Okay.
Well, he didn't read the first part of the Bible then.
Right. So Paul was single. He didn't have kids. Okay. And so I think that the call to singleness, I think, could be legitimate. Okay. I know someone.
And you're saying singleness, no children.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's individuals that have gotten, pregnant outside of wedlock who are single now and choose to remain single while raising that child. And I can, and I'm not condemning them either. Right. Okay. I mean, obviously you wish they had not gotten pregnant outside of wedlock, but things happen, decisions are made. Mm-hmm. And so, you have mercy, you have forgiveness, and then they're trying to do their best to raise that child. Go for it. Right. And then I know couples that have gotten married and their decision is we don't want to have children.
Okay.
And so.
And you think that's okay?
It always concerns me. Because so for example, there's a couple that I know and it concerns me for them, but I know they love Jesus. I know they love the Lord. I know they want to serve him. I know they want to use their time, their energy, and their efforts to serve the Lord as a married couple with no kids. I know they want to use their careers to serve the Lord. I know that's what they like. They want to serve the Lord, but they also they're choosing to not have kids, not because they can't, but because that's just a choice they have made. And do I get concerned for them? I do. And my concern is, okay, it may be okay now, and I can understand your justification because you want to do things with the Lord and that kind of stuff. And that may be the way it works out for the rest of your life, right? Mm-hmm. But I always get concerned of, man, you don't know what you're missing out on. Like that's a person. That's more of a personal thing than like a thus saith the Lord. This is what God says in the Bible.
But you're saying that you do think there are some people, potentially married people, mm-hmm. that God has called not to have children.
Yes, I can go there.
Okay.
Yes, because of whether it's because of what God has called them to, in ministry or in not just in ministry, but just in career. Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, you just hopeful that they're prayerful and discerning about it, and that they're not making that decision because based off of something else, of afraid to be a mom and dad, afraid to raise kids. I would hate for fear to be a primary reason why people choose not to have kids.
Okay, so there are certain church positions where the people in these positions are told not to be fruitful and multiply, and they are not allowed to do that. Like priests and nuns.
Right. Yeah. Don't get married.
Or monks or whatever. So what God said to be fruitful and multiply, why would these be church positions?
Yeah. No, I think it's a really legitimate question. Okay. And so, especially like when you talk about like the priests of the Catholic Church, right? And I think the idea that they have to be single is incredibly questionable. Like I question the validity of that call, of that position. And the reason I do that is because, most often there's
maybe if they had wives, they wouldn't be thinking about doing all those other things that they do.
I mean, let's call it for what it is. I'm not necessarily against you saying that.
Okay.
Because
really?
I do think that's part of the problem.
Okay.
And
good.
I do. And I may get hate on this one, but
I said it first.
Yeah, I think that part of it is we want to have priests where their hearts are completely for the Lord. You're right. Like we're not. The 1 Corinthians 7. If you're single, your hearts are not divided, your interests are not divided. You're able to give full attention to the Lord. And so they establish the fact of, so priests need to be able to give full attention to the Lord. And so therefore our priests need to be single. The problem with that is that even for the Catholic Church, who trace their papacy back to Peter was not single.
He wasn't?
No.
Oh, I thought they were all single.
Nope.
Oh.
I mean, we're introduced to Peter's mother-in-law very early in the Gospels.
Oh.
And so Peter is married. So the very one that Jesus chooses to be like the man, the leader, is actually married.
Oh, you're going to go hang out with Jesus again tonight? Okay.
That might have happened, and so, but, especially as they're trying to figure out who Jesus is, I can see that happening. And so anyway, I think that the idea, though, that every priest has to be single, I think that is, again, I think it's problematic. Peter wasn't. So Jesus obviously must have been okay with the fact that not all the church leaders are going to be single.
Okay.
And
is the Pope single?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So every dude all the way up in leadership in the Catholic
from priesthood
Church,
on. Yeah.
They're all single.
All single.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
That's weird. I don't like that.
I don't disagree with
I didn't know that. I thought it was just the priests.
Mm-mm. Yeah, so I don't disagree with you.
Why didn't I know that?
I don't know.
I'm stupid.
No, you're not. You're not stupid. You're not stupid. But, I think that, but for me, that really it becomes an issue, and I'll look up one thing.
And all the nuns are lesbians now, right?
No.
Oh.
No.
I thought that's just what happened.
No. No. But, okay. But getting into some of these things, though.
Yeah.
Anytime you're putting a restriction of going into ministry and you're literally forcing people, to be single.
Mm.
That's so problematic, because there's not that many people, I don't think, called to that.
Okay.
And Paul says in 1 Corinthians 7 as well, he says, you know what, if you're burning with lust, better to get married.
Yeah.
And I think what we see is that's the case.
Okay.
And to curb sexual sin, fornication of any kind, like, marriage is a viable option for that.
Right.
And so I do think that priests and those in ministry should be allowed to marry if they want to. But again, that's my own personal position. Catholic Church can continue to do, and they're going to continue to do, obviously, what they want to do.
Because you're wrong.
Oh, I'm dead wrong to them.
And boy, oh boy, am I an asshole.
Yep. You said it, not me. But I think that I just think that it's been around for so long at this point now, as an official position. It's been in place for almost 1,000 years, and they're not going to move from that.
Yeah. Okay. I have not squirted out me some fruit in this life.
Okay.
I'll rephrase. I do not have children of my own.
Thank you for the rephrasing. Yeah.
Okay. So am I going to hell?
No.
All right. This has been the way I heard this podcast.
Yeah, you're not. It's not a salvific issue.
Okay.
Yeah, you can end the episode actually on that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a salvific issue. So.
The outro thing is going to be longer than the clip. On the clip. But I won't make that a clip. That can just be the end of the episode.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have my own children. But I do have one that's not mine.
Yeah.
So, fruit.
Multiply.
Yeah. And multiply. Cool.
Yeah, man.
Are we done?
We're done.
All right.
Made it.
We did all the fruits and all the multiplying.
We talked about some
Not
things.
together. We did do this together.
Don't make this awkward.
Okay.
Not at the end.
All right.
Let's kill the episode.
Okay.
I don't mean kill it, but end it.
Let's unfreeze this episode. Well, this has been the When I Heard This podcast. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This podcast, and X and locals at When I Heard This. Like, subscribe, share, comment, follow, download. Follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram. I said that already. Man, this is a day.
It is.
Notification bell. Tell your friends. Website, t-shirt. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nate Robinsoff. You can follow Joseph on Instagram at
Rev Joe T.
This has been the When I Heard This podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.